Wind from the northwestern quarter is lifting him high above the dove-gray, crimson, umber-brown Connecticut Valley. Far beneath, chickens daintily pause and move unseen in the yard of the tumble-down farmstead. Chipmunks blend with the heath. Now adrift on the airflow, unfurled alone, all that he glimpses, the hill's lofty, ragged ridges, the silver stream that threads quivering like a living bone of steel, badly notched with rapids, the townships like strings of beads strewn across New England. Having slid down to nil thermometers, those household gods in niches freeze, inhibiting thus the fire of leaves in churches' spires. Still no churches for him. In the windy reaches, undreamt of by the most righteous choir, he soars in a cobalt-blue ocean, his beak clamped shut, his talons clutched tight into his belly, claws balled up like a sunken fist, sensing in each wisp of down the thrust from below, glinting back the berry of his eyeball, heading south-southwest to the Rio Grande, the Delta, the beech groves, and further still, to a nest hidden in the mighty groundswell of grass whose edges no fingers trust, sunk amid forest odors filled with the splinters of red-speckled eggshell, with a brother or a sister's ghost. The heart overgrown with flesh, down, feather, wing, pulsing at feverish rate, non-stopping, propelled by internal heat and sense, the bird goes slashing and scissoring the autumnal blue, yet by the same swift token enlarging it at the expense of its brownish speck, barely registering on the eye, a dot sliding far above the lofty pine tree, at the expense of the empty look of that child, arching up at the sky, that couple that left the car and lifted their heads, that woman on the stoop. But the uprush of air is still lifting him higher and higher. His belly feathers feel the nibbling cold. Casting a downward gaze, he sees the horizon growing dim. He sees, as it were, the features of the first 13 colonies, whose chimneys all puff out smoke. Yet it's their total within his sight that tells the bird of his elevation, of what altitude he's reached this trip. What am I doing at such a height? He senses a mixture of trepidation and pride. Heeling over a tip of wing, he plummets down. But the resilient air bounces him back, winging up to glory, to the colorless icy plain. His yellow pupil darts a sudden glare of rage that is a mix of fury and terror. So once again he turns and plunges down. But his walls are turned rubber balls as sins send a sinner to faith, or near, he's driven upward this time as well. He, whose innards are still so warm, still higher, into some blasted ionosphere, that astronomically objective hell of birds that lacks oxygen, and where the milling stars play millet served from a plate or a crescent. What for the bipeds has always meant height for the feathered is the reverse. Not with his puny brain, but with shriveled air sacs, he guesses the truth of it. It's the end. And at this point he screams. From the hook-like beak there tears free of him and flies ad luminem the sound araignées make to rend souls, a mechanical, intolerable shriek, the shriek of steel that devours aluminum, mechanical, for it's meant for nobody, for no living ears, not man's, not yelping foxes, not squirrels hurrying to the ground from branches, not for tiny field mice whose tears can't be avenged this way, which forces them into the burrows. And only hounds lift up their muzzles. A piercing, high-pitched squeal, more nightmarish than the D-sharp grinding of the diamond-cutting glass, slashes the whole sky across. And the world seems to reel for an instant, shuddering from this rending, for the warmth burns space and the highest, as badly as some iron fence down here brands in cautious gloveless fingers. We, standing where we are, exclaim, there, and see far above the tear that is a hawk, and hear the sound that lingers in wavelets, a spider skying, swelling notes and ripples across the blue vault of space, whose lack of echo spells, especially in October, an apotheosis of pure sound. And caught in this heavenly patterned lace, star-like, spangled with hoarfrost powder, silver-clad, crystal-bound, the bird sails to the zenith, to the dark blue high of azure. Through binoculars we foretoken him, a glittering dot, a pearl. We hear something ring out in the sky like some family crockery being broken, slowly falling a swirl, yet its shards, as they reach our palms, don't hurt but melt when handled. A map, now a mere heap of flying pale flakes that make a green slope appear white. And the children laughing and brightly dressed, swarm out of doors to catch them, crying with a loud shout in English, "Winter's here."